In the depth of a dusk-soaked evening, Corporal James Connor sat alone in his barracks, a heavy silence pressing down on his chest. His rough hands trembled as he clutched a photograph of his comrades, faces now blurry into ghosts of the past. Memories flooded his mind, explosions tearing apart the landscape, screams of men calling for their mothers, and the face of Major Harris, twisted into a cruel smile as he sent them into the jaws of death. Night after night, the haunting echo of betrayal gnawed at James' sanity. The Major, safe in his ivory tower, had ordered a retreat when they were so close to victory, abandoning his men to be slaughtered. James's heart pounded with fury and despair, his mind a trapped animal in a cage smelling only blood and treachery. Desperation clawed at him. The only escape lay in the cold embrace of death, where he might find some twisted form of justice. With a shaky breath, James wrote his final words, a letter soaked in bitterness addressing Major Harris. Then, wrapping his fingers around the cold steel of his service pistol, he pulled the trigger. Darkness swallowed him whole. But death was not the end for Corporal Connor. He awoke in a realm between worlds, a shadow of his former self, fueled by unholy rage. His transformation was both terrifying and grotesque. Skin grew pallid, eyes sunken and blackened, and a spectral aura flickered around him, crackling with vengeance. He was no longer a man. He was an instrument of retribution. The haunting began. Major Harris, settled into the false comfort of his decorated quarters, felt the air grow cold, the oppressive quiet broken only by whispers of the damned. At the military camp, fires flickered wildly and shadows danced, forming the ghastly outline of James. In the dark forest where soldiers feared to tread, the wind carried an unnatural wail that curdled the blood. And in each abandoned building, Harris found messages scratched into the walls, words of accusation, screams for vengeance, final pleas of the deceased. With each sighting, Harris's sanity crumbled, haunted by visions of the deadliest ambushes and the men he had forsaken. James's spirit prowled closer and closer, each confrontation more terrifying than the last. The culmination of this spectral torment came in the ruins of an old chapel, where Harris sought refuge in vain. As he faced the shadowy figure of his betrayed subordinate, realization dawned with the weight of 1,000 tombstones. James advanced, a ripple through the darkness, and reached out a skeletal hand. In one final act of vengeance, he wrapped his fingers around Harris's throat, cold as the grave. Harris's scream echoed once and then ceased, his body collapsing in lifeless defeat. Justice, in its most macabre form, had been served.